I'm Dean, I'm the dad.
I'm Laura, I'm the mom.
And I'm Krystlyn, I'm the daughter.
And together we are Family Plot. Very nice, works so well. Thanks for joining us once again. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. A couple ways you can help us out. First is Patreon. There's 2 levels, $1 and $3. You get cool stuff for signing up. It's a monthly thing. You can pause it if you need to. If you can't do monthly donations, which we understand, you can certainly go through Buy Me a Coffee, which is just a one-time donation of $1 or $2. If you enjoy the show, please share it on social media.
Share it with friends.
Share it with family.
With everyone. And if you don't enjoy the show, please keep it to yourself.
If you can't say anything nice,
don't say anything at all.
Blah, blah, blah. All right.
Hey.
Thank you, Krysta. So what are we talking about?
Keep you in line. What are we talking about today? Well, first off, Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. I used to say it Happy Valentines.
Happy Valentine's Day.
That's okay. Have you seen how Lexi spelled it for me on my card? So our 6-year-old, of course, is learning to read and write. She's a first grader. She's learning a lot of her basic words and furiously independent, just like the rest of her siblings. She went out of her way and made every person in her family a Valentine's card. And with the exception of asking how to spell a couple of names, she didn't ask for any help with any of it. And so when she wrote my Valentine's, she tried to sound it out. So Happy Valentines is spelled F-A-L-I-S-T-I-M-E. That's how she sounded it out and spelled it, and I love it so much.
Well, happy Valentine's to you both.
Happy Valentine's Day.
And just a wonderful day to people who don't celebrate it. Yeah. I know a lot of people kind of have puts a bad taste in people's mouths because of the love connotation. But at the end of the day, I think we all need more love in the world, and if you are not in a relationship, then Valentine's Day should be all the more for you, and you should give yourself some of that extra love that you're not getting. It's my personal opinion on it.
Valentine's Day is a day for you to just love completely. If you can't love somebody else during that day, then I recommend giving yourself a time and a place to give yourself self-care. Show yourself some love.
Yeah. You were saying, babe.
I was saying that I also applaud the ladies who turn it into Galentine's Day.
About that a couple of times today. I've never heard of that before, but
right. Well, basically, it's just ladies getting together.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
As sort of a celebration, and I like that. I like that. Thelma and Louise minus car chase and death.
Yeah,
kind of take on it.
Right. Absolutely.
But when this comes out, this will all be yesterday. So
that is true.
Why don't we head into the show that people are tuning in to hear?
Well, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't. I wasn't.
Valentine's Day, Dad. You're breaking her Valentine's Day spirit.
Because the show comes out on the 15th.
Right,
yeah, but it's Valentine's Day today, so let them enjoy it.
You can cut all of this out if you want. That's the joy of you being the one who edits the podcast. I'm sorry. Honey, what are we talking about today on our show?
Okay. Tonight, we head to the Bahamas in the early 1940s, where we meet a prospector and philanthropist named Harry Oakes. We examine his rise to riches, and then we look into his murder in this historical cold case episode of the Family Plot podcast. But first,
it's not just any corner, it's Krysta's corner.
So, Krysta, hi.
Hi.
It's your corner.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Let's put this Valentine's Day stuff in the corner.
Okay.
How are you feeling about Valentine's Day?
pretty good.
I'm in love.
Well,
You knew that already. That's why you're here.
Well, yeah.
And your siblings. Yeah.
We're here. I'm having a good Valentine's Day.
Good.
I have a Valentine's Day surprise for you both.
You do?
Yeah. I don't know if you heard, but I've talked about it quite a bit to siblings. I'm dating someone.
Uh-huh.
I kind of figured that out last night.
Yeah.
Whenever I tried to talk to you and you acted really annoyed at me.
I wasn't annoyed. I told you that. But yep, I'm dating someone new. I probably won't bring them up much, but I figured you two should know. And, Family Plot definitely should.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
If you were able to get a break, how would you celebrate your Valentine's Day?
If I was able to get a break?
Like a break away from the kids and, how would you two celebrate it?
Oh, that's easy. I'd take your mom up to Ameristar and we'd go to the Great Plains Cattle Company.
And we would have French onion soup because their French onion soup is amazing.
Never had it before.
You can taste the beef broth.
Yes,
it's like
so good.
You can taste the steak, but there's not a piece of meat in the soup.
It's amazing.
And then it's covered in cheese and bread.
Oh, yes. So good.
So good. And you can ask for more cheese if you eat it all.
You can ask for more cheese if you eat it all.
Can you?
Yeah, found that out.
How did you find that out?
Talking to someone about it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Is it free cheese or is it just cheese?
I don't know.
It's a white cheese. I think it's mozzarella. It might be Parmesan. But the whole idea is that it melts.
No, did you get it for free or what?
Oh, no. It's very costly, but
yeah, that soup's $12, but it's worth it. Oh my god,
it is really good.
That's an expensive soup.
It's so good though.
Yeah, but you got to remember, this is a place where, like, the steaks cost $60.
When your dad and I go, it probably costs us about
steaks cost $60,
$120, $150 for just the two of us. It's definitely a steakhouse. It's definitely a little pricey.
And
it's been 2 years since we've been there, so the prices have probably gone up too, because everything's gone up. So,
but it's so good. So good.
I'm sure it is.
I would also take her to, and I mean, if we had more money, I'd take the family to Cinzetti's, because that's another. I mean, Valentine's Day Italian food.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. How about you, Miss? I'm in a new relationship. If you had your way, what would your quintessential Valentine's date be that you would set up?
I would most likely, like, if I had the freedom to, I would most likely set up a picnic, and I would bring their favorite foods because they're vegetarian.
Oh.
And we would just hang out and talk about things, you know, talk a little bit about what more we might do. And I'd take them to go stuffy shopping. It's about the simple things that make up the relationship.
There you go. Absolutely. You don't have to spend a crazy amount of money. Your dad and I are always just happy to hang out and spend time together, so I'm good with that.
Yeah. And hanging out is one of my favorite things. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to. What's it called?
I don't know.
What's what?
Spending time together. That's quality time.
Yeah.
Quality time. Yes.
That is one of my love languages.
That's awesome.
So have you seen any more Supernatural?
I haven't. I've actually been dealing with something right now, and I started watching.
Shouldn't you have Dean on the other leg?
No.
That's my partner's name.
Oh, okay. I thought Sam and Dean, the Winchesters.
I actually started watching that because of my ex-friend, and I just blocked my ex-friend, so...
So you're not going to find out who Kevin is?
I'm going to find out who Kevin is. I'm taking a break away from it, because right now it reminded me, and then I'm kind of in that spot where I'm just like, anything that reminds me of him, it's just like, no.
Gotcha.
Fair enough.
Anything else you want to tell us about?
I just wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day, Galentine's Day, Guytine's Day. I don't know.
I don't think a lot of guys, at least
guys
not
should.
straight guys, are getting together to celebrate Valentine's Day.
I think they should.
You're probably right, they should, but guys are real dumb.
Guys are real dumb.
They have their moments. You're not right.
I'm just saying there's a significant amount of men who, if you told them, hey, I know you don't have a woman to be with this year. Why don't you get together with your friends and throw a big party? I ain't doing that. It's gay.
Pookie, it's not gay if you drink beer out of a glass with a heart on it that says Happy Valentine's Day and watch sports.
I get that,
Make
but I'm just telling you, like I said, most guys are dumb, and that would be their response to it.
Dumb.
Women don't worry about such things. They just go out and have a good time and eat good food and laugh.
Because it's not gay, Pookie.
Guys are dumb. That's all I'm going to say. Yep. Guys are kind of dumb.
We're gonna put... No offense. Maybe slight offense, but...
Okay. That mindset. How about this? Guys aren't dumb, but that mindset is.
Yeah, guys aren't dumb. Just that's the type of mindset is really silly.
That mindset should have gone away with the 80s, but
with the 80s.
Ever.
All right. That's about it. I wish you guys a happy Valentine's Day. And wait, one more thing. Did it not want to be brought up anymore? K. K.
What?
The name starts with K. Did that not want to be brought up anymore? I just wanted to wish her a bye.
Oh, no, you can, because, I was going to bring that up, too.
Yeah.
Kate passed.
Yeah, okay, so I wish her the best in the place she is now. It's really upsetting when a fellow podcaster passes away, and I wish her the best in the place she is now.
And her family.
I wish her family the best, and I hope they're coping okay. And I hope that every family and friend that knew her is just coping decently right now. And if not,
reach out.
Yeah, Kate was always kind to us. Yes. And because of that, I sort of adopted her as a little sister. And I was so worried when she was in the hospital over Christmas because she'd been there for so long. And I worried that this would be the outcome, and it was, and it just breaks my heart.
And I'm sure that everyone who knows her or knew her are pretty heartbroken about it. But, things happen. People leave when they leave.
That's right.
there's nothing that anybody could have done about it. What could be done was done.
Yeah.
Right.
And it extended for a long enough time to keep remembrance in her, and that's good. So I just wish her in the best place right now, and I hope you're doing okay out there.
Thank you, Krys.
Thank you very much, baby. Okay. So, let's start by talking about who was Harry Oakes. Harry Oakes was born in Sangerville, Maine on December 23rd, 1874. The third of 5 children, he was born to attorney William Pitt Oakes and his wife Edith, or Edith, I'm not sure. Yeah. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Mm-hmm. He was raised in affluence, but he was not overly wealthy. He attended Foxcroft Academy for most of his young schooling, got a degree from Bowdoin College, and even studied for 2 years at Syracuse Medical School before striking out on his own to search for gold. With the support and well wishes of his family, Harry set out in search of his fortune. His first stop was the Yukon, and while he did not find gold, he did make money treating frostbite among other miners. Not surprising, because it does get to 50 below zero up there.
That's insane.
Yeah, not good.
No.
So, but he, like I said, he made money treating frostbite among other miners. From there, he was shipwrecked briefly off the coast of Alaska, where he was also imprisoned by the Russians.
Well, that's exciting.
Upon being freed, he returned to Alaska, got a job as a deckhand, and sailed to Australia, where he had no luck finding gold at all. From there, he went to New Zealand, but he was disappointed there as well. Uh-huh. He returned to the States, working a claim in California, but with no success. He traveled to Central America, but found no gold there either. Eventually, he made his way to Ontario, Canada, and there he had the fortune to room in the boarding house of one Rosa Brown. Rosa has been described by more than one source as unusually ugly, smelly, and accompanied always by snarling dogs. She disliked miners, but ran a boarding house for them, and it was she who suggested that he go to a claims office and purchase a claim that had expired. He did as she told him, pausing only to make a partnership with the 4 Tuft brothers. He purchased a claim that had expired the day before.
Nice.
In a few short years, what came to be known as the Lakeshore Mine was earning Oakes about $60,000 a day.
Wow.
It was the second richest mine in all the Americas after the Homestead Mine in the Black Hills of South Dakota. So that's our introduction to Harry. Now let's take a moment for a word from another podcast.
Hey there, friend. My name's Sarai, and I host a spooky, casual podcast called Freaky AF, where I tell you stories of conspiracies, true crime, and of the supernatural. So if that's your kind of shiz, come check us out. I'm sure we'll be great friends. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, and a bunch of other places. Or you can look us up on Twitter and Instagram. We're Freaky AF Pod. That's FREAKYAFPOD. Come get spooked, y'all.
Whoa.
I know, right?
That was fantastic.
Sounds cool.
All right. Now, since we heard about that amazing podcast, let me speak more on this. Upon becoming the richest man in Canada, Harry went on a cruise where he met the shy, unassuming Eunice McIntyre? Does that sound right?
Yes, good enough.
Or Eunice. I usually hear it pronounced Eunice.
Eunice, okay. Eunice, the daughter of a government official, was 24, 26 younger than Harry, and 26 years younger than Harry and 6 inches taller.
Well.
Okay. Still, the pair were wed when they returned to Canada. Harry renounced his American citizenship for business reasons until he realized that the taxes in Canada would take a significant amount of his fortune. Now that he had his friends with Harold Christie. Now that he had his fortune, he wanted to keep as much of it as possible. My bad. It was around this time he met and became friends with Harold Christie, okay. Harold was a real estate developer and a man who was legendary among salesmen and he spoke cajoled and encouraged his friend to move to the Bahamas, a crown colony at the time, which did not have an income tax. Harry moved there with his wife and children. He eventually would have 5. That's a lot of kids. He built a golf course and an airport. He set up a bus service for natives, a plane to take patients with serious illness to Florida medical facilities, and a waterworks, a free milk fund for poor children, as well as a fund for unwed mothers. He gave $400,000 to St. George's Hospital in London in 1939. King George gave him the title of Baronet.
Nice. Well, I guess I see where the philanthropy started to come in.
Yeah. When he moved to the Bahamas, the first thing he did was begin to make a bunch of philanthropic gestures.
Yeah.
Mostly, though, he was gunning for that title.
Yeah.
He wanted that title of baronet because that would make him a British citizen, and therefore in the crown colony, at least for that time, he would not be charged an income tax.
Gotcha. So do we need to take a minute for a sponsor break?
Yes.
I feel sponsored.
I feel sponsored.
Well, awesome.
So now let's talk a little bit about the Duke and Duchess of Windsor at the time. In 1936, Edward, Albert, Christian, George, Andrew, Patrick, David, better known as King Edward VIII of England, had created quite a scandal. The King of England had fallen in love with an American divorcee named Bessie Wallace Simpson and wanted to marry her. However, Bessie was divorced from one man and in the process of getting a divorce from her second husband. The fact that the king was having a dalliance with her was dangerous enough, but the prime minister and other lawmakers felt that it was an absolute constitutional crisis for the king to marry a woman with 2 living ex-husbands. There was a controversy in the British press and a blazing row behind the scenes, and in December of 1936, King Edward VIII abdicated the throne so that he could marry the woman he loved. In 1937, without permission from anyone in England, the couple went to Germany where they met Adolf Hitler and led many to speculate, even to this day, that the couple were Nazi sympathizers. In 1938, they were assigned control of the Bahamas, something they publicly took great pride in. Though rumors abounded that the couple was not happy to be sentenced to this hot little hell, the Bahamas, at that point were said to abound with Nazis and Nazi sympathizers. In fact, the Duke and Duchess of Windsor were carefully watched by the FBI, among others, for it was believed that Bessie was sending coded messages to German operatives with the clothes that she was sending to New York to be laundered each week. Swedish industrialist Axel Wenner-Green owned over 700 acres in Nassau in the Bahamas and engaged in business deals with known Nazis, as well as was best friends with the commander of the Luftwaffe, Hermann Göring. And the Duke of Windsor often told people that if he were still king, England would not be at war with Germany.
Yeah, a couple things there that I kind of wanted. That's part of why they got sent to the Bahamas, is after he abdicated the throne, Edward wouldn't keep his yappers shut and kept saying things like, we shouldn't be at war with Germany, and making it pretty obvious that he at least had some sympathies with the Nazis. And another thing was Bessie Wallace. That lady had such a bad reputation. There's a German diplomat named von Ribbentrop. He was Hitler's favorite diplomat. He regularly sent her 17 carnations. We know this to be a fact. But people believe that the reason he kept doing it was because it was one carnation for every time the pair had sex. So that's why Winston Churchill eventually demanded they got sent to Bermuda or to the Bahamas, because it was looked at as a backwater.
Yeah, sure.
And they couldn't.
And it got them geographically, at least, away from
the British press and causing any more problems, because they had enough problems with the war going on.
Right.
So, and the thing is, I've heard people talk about, there was a king that abdicated his throne to marry an American divorcee for years. I knew nothing about it. This is amazing to me. Like, this whole story is just, this too? It's like, as it gets told, it's just like throwing more and more stuff into it.
Yep.
So on July 7th, 1943, Sir Harry Oakes threw a small party as his wife and 4 of his children were in Maine enjoying the cooler temperatures. A storm was coming and most of the guests left early. However, Harold Christie accepted Harry's offer of a bed in a room down the hall from his own. Harold Christie said he slept comfortably and did not wake until the following morning. Sometime after midnight on the morning of July 8th, someone stabbed Harry behind the ear with a silver ice pick 4 times. Then that person, or perhaps a different person, struck him behind the ear with a small miner's pick to disguise the wound. The same person had also doused him in insecticide and set him ablaze, though the fire went out. Harold Christie discovered the body in the morning, and when interviewed by the police, claimed he had slept soundly and heard nothing at all night long. Upon discovering the murder of the Duke of Windsor, took the investigation from the Bahamian police and turned it over to 2 Miami policemen. One was Captain Edward Melchin, who had been charged of the Duke of Windsor's security detail on a visit to Miami, and Captain James Otto Baker, a Miami police driver who also used to be an ambulance driver. The 2 men began their investigation right away, though it can be argued bungled it might be a more accurate description. They interviewed Harold Christie and almost immediately focused their investigation on Alfred de Marigny. Marigny was married to Oakes' daughter, Nancy, and it was well known that Marigny and Oakes did not get along and were not speaking. Melchin and Baker informed the family they had fingerprint evidence and arrested Marigny at once. Now, it was also very well known that Marigny and the Duke of Windsor despised one another. Marigny had his own dinner guests the night of the murder, and his wife, Nancy, was in Maine with her mother. So Marigny had no alibi after his guests left, and the police claimed that he had murdered Oakes because he didn't like him and he was trying to hurry along his wife's inheritance.
That seems very convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems a little convenient to me.
Marigny's trial was covered in all the papers at the time. Much to the
chagrin.
Much to the chagrin of the Duke of Windsor. Initially, the Duke of Windsor had attempted to black out the press and keep them from getting wind of Oak's death, but within hours, the local papers broke the story soon, leading to it becoming a international story very quickly. At the trial, the fingerprint evidence quickly fell apart as it became obvious that evidence had been planted badly. As for the rest of
the evidence.
Okay. As for the rest of the evidence, it was quickly demonstrated that the two Miami police officers had mostly failed in their attempts to collect and present evidence. Marigny, I said that right?
Yes.
Was acquitted against the murder charges. However, the judge did order him deported. He and his wife Nancy went to Cuba, where they stayed with Ernest Hemingway.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go someplace, I don't know. Wasn't Ernest Hemingway like a terrible alcoholic?
He was a terrible alcoholic. He was a sportsman.
Yeah,
he was a soldier. He was a writer.
He was a trip.
Yeah. We'll talk more about him next week, actually.
Cool. Interesting. So, who had motive to kill Harry? Harold Christie comes to mind, as does the Duke of Windsor. Sir Harry Oakes was happy to have his British citizenship and his baronet title, but he was becoming unhappy in the tax-free haven of the Bahamas. He had been considering a move to Mexico, and if the Bahamas' richest man had suddenly left the Bahamas, things would have been bad for Harold Christie and the white elite who ran things on the island, who dubbed themselves the Bay Street Boys. Also, mobsters wanted to bring casinos to the island, something that Oakes was very adverse to. Well, I would imagine that he had probably seen some of the things that can happen with people in casinos, having lived in Alaska and having lived in all of these gold rush areas, because that was something that a lot of miners at the time and people who were moving, I would imagine they probably actually had a lot of experience with that. So that does definitely make sense. Some think that Christie could see the financial boon that casinos represented and arranged for Oakes' murder so that he would no longer contest the coming of the casinos. Others think that a hitman sent by Charles Lucky Luciano had come for Oakes. Over his ties... had come for Oakes due to the continued opposition to in the Bahamas. Also, Axel Wenner-Green had fled to Mexico over his ties to the Nazis, but he had convinced the Duke of Windsor and Harry Oakes to invest money in Mexico City. However, so if Oakes had thought of pulling out of that arrangement, it would have devastated the Duke of Windsor. So it is possible that a Nazi sympathizer assassin had murdered Oakes. So there were still quite a few people who definitely had motive and means to take him out.
Right. That was the thing, is that, and that's part of what just, when I found out about this, just sort of floored me, because it's all this like weird stuff. It's like a well-written story, but it really happened.
Yeah.
You've got a former king in exile in the Bahamas with his potentially Nazi sympathizing wife, who is probably cheating on him. Hello, she's divorced twice, and I don't know why, but
Well, and I mean, the royals have never been, the best about keeping their noses clean either. So there's that.
And then, like this whole thing in Mexico City.
Yeah, it's definitely. Why isn't there movies? I mean, this should be a movie. This seems like a Hollywood movie.
Right. And then you've got these Bay Street boys, which are a bunch of rich white elites that are basically just running the island, despite the fact they're a minority. Much like you had a white minority in Hawaii that led to their becoming a state on white terms, as opposed to keeping like the island's royalty and all the other stuff they could have done. So, and then the mobsters, I mean, if he really was against the casinos going to the Bahamas, and let me tell you, if you haven't been, the Bahamas are full of casinos, full of them. The casinos make more money than anything else, just about. So, yeah, if he was opposing that, God, anybody could have killed him. Anybody from Harold Christie to the Duke of Windsor to, and these guys probably wouldn't have done it themselves. They would have paid for it.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Why would they get their hands dirty? They have plenty of money to.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know who did it. I mean, the end of the day, there are so many possibilities. We don't know.
Well, and it's one of those things like it will never be solved because the people that were brought in to handle it did a horrendous job. And that was at a time where things had to be so meticulous, and definitely it was not. So
Right. And it was so obvious that they tried to frame Marigny. He's the only one I think is innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, just I just don't like. Like, he's the only one I don't see having a reason to do it. Yeah, he didn't like his father-in-law that much, but he's friends with Ernest Hemingway at a point when Ernest Hemingway is a name worth knowing.
Yep.
And I know that Harry had a good relationship with his daughter, Nancy. His daughter, Nancy, was the one who was married to Marigny. So I can't imagine Marigny was that bad a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, 1950s bad, okay, but not like mafia man bad or Nazi sympathizer bad. Not, but just 50s male and French, and that kind of, they can be kind of French sometimes.
Yeah, French people can be a little French. You're right.
So
I mean, they're not the warm fuzzy. They're very passionate people, but not. They're not well known for being warm fuzzy and considerate generally.
Yeah, they're not.
Hot tempered and spicy and right up there with Scottish. Can tend to have that personality trait as well. That hot tempered, very passionate, very.
Yeah, definitely.
That my Vesuvius. When I get to that point, that's the Irish in me. That's
yeah. No, I get it. And the thing is that, like, Harry Oakes could have put that money and invested it in business or whatever, but once he had it, he just wanted to keep it and not pay taxes on it. And if he'd never gone to the Bahamas, I don't think he ever would have been killed. And then, there's the guy he bought the claim technically out from under, because when he and the Tuff brothers started working that claim, the guy who had owned it the day before showed up, saw what was going on, and went back and bought the claim next to it.
I see.
So he could have made enemies other places, but I don't know that they would have had such an easy time of getting into the Bahamas, because at least in the circles that Oakes traveled in.
Right.
because Oakes was hobnobbing with the Duke of Windsor and his Duchess, which I don't like the Duchess any more than Krysta likes Sharon Kinney.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of the Duchess of Windsor in this scenario.
Yeah.
She strikes me as all kinds of wrong. Yeah, I don't, not a hat, not.
This is definitely, but it was definitely an interesting story. It's not one that I was familiar with, so thank you for finding it for us. It definitely was an interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah, well, and I agree with you in that, like, it should be a TV show.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like a Tarantino movie without all the blood and gore and dirty language.
Well, there probably was some, there had to be some blood and gore for him to be stabbed 4 times behind the ear with an ice pick and then be stabbed again with a small
miner's pick.
That's got to be at least a little bloody gory.
Yeah.
And then set on fire. I mean, somebody was not real happy with him. It's my thing. Thank goodness that fire went out.
Well, and then to focus on Marigny, when the Duke of Windsor had such a hatred for him.
Right.
And I don't even know why the Duke of Windsor didn't like him. Like, I get
obviously his faculties were in question anyway if he was a Nazi sympathizer. I mean, the Nazis did horrible, god-awful, terrible, horrible crimes against nature and humanity for
a long time, yes.
For way longer and anyone who backed them up, their faculties are definitely in question, at least in my consideration.
Right. And that's the other thing, is the Duchess of Windsor being sent here. This was a punishment.
Yeah.
And while they tried to frame it as it wasn't one, they knew it was a punishment.
Right.
Because Winston Churchill was tired of apologizing for them.
Fair enough.
And so he's like, send them to the Bahamas. Send them someplace where they're not going to have any access to anything.
Right.
And that's something else. Winston Churchill is in this episode.
Yeah.
If only briefly, but he's here.
Yep. It was definitely an experience.
Like I said, this was such an interesting story. It just...
Yeah.
And little bits of it have appeared in places.
Right.
In like movies or TV series or books. But other than a couple of books that have been written on it, which are really just historical overviews, nothing fictional has been built on it. No movie has been made about it. Right. No, and I think it would make a great movie, but who do you cast as in the role of the killer? Or how do you set it up so that you've got a dead body, but no murder? And then for the island's governor to tell the police, nah, you don't do this. You suck. I'm going to get these 2 guys from Miami. And then, of course, that came back to bite him in the ass because when the trial hit the papers,
they crucified him.
Yeah, they crucified him.
Rightly so.
Because these 2 idiots didn't have, it was clear they fabricated the fingerprint evidence, and all the other evidence they collected was either meaningless or badly collected. So,
is A not bad anymore?
Huh?
You cussed.
I did.
You called him an ASS.
Well, yeah, it kind of was an ass.
And
Donkey is an ass.
Okay, that is a different situation.
But I think we've decided that we can kind of PG-13 now that you're going to be
14.
Now that you're going to be 15 in about 2.5 months.
Look.
Child, you are almost grown. Stop it.
Yeah, I know.
You were 12 when we started this podcast. Slow down.
I need a break. Where can I stop growing for a minute? I don't
I know it doesn't.
I don't want to be a Hatchimal. I don't want to be the first Hatchimal. The original, the Gen 1 Hatchimal. No.
But yeah, I just, like I said, I don't like the Duchess of Windsor in this very much at all. I dislike her more than Krysta dislikes Sharon Kinney.
I don't think.
I don't know that that's possible, but okay.
I don't think you know the hatred for Sharon Kinney.
Yeah, I think she still. I think she still has plenty of fiery rage for. Yeah. No.
I don't think.
But I just, and the other thing is the Duke of Windsor going so far out of the way to frame Marigny. I really want to say he's involved. Like if you told me, okay, pick somebody who did this, I'd say it's Duke of Windsor.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Orchestrated it at the very least.
Yeah, I don't think he actually did any of the, but I think he arranged for it to be done.
Or at least knew who did it.
Yeah.
And helped them cover it up.
Yep. So.
Yep. So that brings us to the end of our show, though.
Any other thoughts anyone else wants to express before we do that?
No, I feel like you guys both were pretty much like spat it out there. I don't really have anything to add. This is kind of a very compact thing where it's not really a view. It's kind of more of a common sense type thing.
Okay. Well, that's our show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for keeping us in the Good Pods Top 100. We hit that every week just about now.
That is so awesome. It's so exciting.
Thanks to those of you that have joined the Facebook group. Also, please continue to let us know when you've listened to episodes. I don't get on Facebook as much as I used to, but I do appreciate seeing that people listen and enjoyed the episode.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm on Facebook every day, so if you ever want to give me a shout out, I am part of our Facebook group, and I am definitely available via Messenger, et cetera, et cetera. So feel free to reach out.
But anyway, so yeah, please join our Facebook group. Thanks to Bill Baronet, and let me spell that last name for you, Behrendt. Bill is the one who did our theme music. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Bill also, obviously, he's a musician, so if you need music for a project, he's your go-to. Also, he does, because he's a musician, he does events, so if you need someone to perform at a wedding or other event, Bill's also your guy for that. You can reach him at billbaronet@sbcglobal.net. He's one half of the Rusty and Dusty podcast, so check that out. Thanks also go out to Paige Elmore of the Reverie Crime Podcast. Now, in addition to her excellent crime podcast, Paige also has a Canva addiction that she combines with our own Krysta's artwork to do some of our logo art. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Paige.
Thanks to Aaron Gnerk of the Big Dumb Fun Show for continuing to promote us locally. And join us next week as we go to Key West, Florida to look into Captain Tony's Saloon.
Captain Tony's Saloon.
Yes. Very, very haunted place in Key West.
Nice.
So, and it's our second visit after Robert the Doll. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
And that is where we will run into more Ernest Hemingway. So
I see.
So that's it. Thanks for everything. Bye.
Bye. Bye.